us Catholics need to be thinking about ourselves in a new way.
Does it feel sometime like you're losing the battle and life is a disappointment?
We got to have the courage to say that there's something missing.
The Lord is interested in giving to us His power so that we can live a new way of life.
What are we called to be? We're called to be saints and missionaries. There's something in us after meeting Christ that makes us want to tell others.
The Lord wants to speak through you and use you and stir you.
This universal call to mission is a revolution.
As we hear the Spirit, He recreates us and we become new people.
This is it. This is all what it's all about. Welcome to another week of The Choices We Face. My name is Ralph Martin, and Peter Herbeck is my co-host as usual. We have a special guest today, Bob Lesnefsky from Steubenville, Ohio. And right. Bob comes highly recommended by my daughter and son-in-law, who also live in Steubenville, Ohio. My son-in-law teaches at the theology department, and my daughter Mary Sarah and Bob's wife are friends. And Bob, you just have an amazing story and an amazing ministry, and we just want to hear about it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I live in Steubenville, Ohio. I have 5 children, a girl, and then 4 boys. So it's a very crazy household.
How old are they, by the way?
I always say they're basically all the same age. We just had like an onslaught of kids, but they're, my daughter's 9, and then it's like a year and a half down, basically from there. Yeah. But I live in Steubenville, Ohio. Got a very holy, wonderful wife.
Wonderful wives help, don't they?
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know where I'd be without her. But I'm a professional rapper. It sounds like such a goofy, funny thing. It's always an interesting, conversation thing on a plane or something. But really, all that is with the intention of reaching kids for Christ in the church. And I think for us, one thing that we've become really passionate about is using the culture, and even if that's pop culture, for evangelization, and our real passion, like the slice of the pie of the young people that we feel passionately called to is inner city youth, and so the last 10 years of our life, that's primarily what we've been doing.
What is it you do with them?
Well, what we like to call it.
Hey, Pete, before we get to his ministry, let's hear a little about your personal.
Yeah, sure.
How did the Lord kind of awaken you to this?
Sure.
Were you always a dedicated Catholic, or?
Not really. My family, my parents, growing up, were both involved in church. real kind of churchy people. But it was always like an embarrassing thing to me. I have a memory just of kids coming over to my house, and we were one of those houses one crucifix was never enough. There'd be pictures, crosses, statues everywhere.
Where was this?
In Philly, outside of Philadelphia. And I remember friends of mine who weren't Catholic. What are all these pictures? I was like, all their relatives. Just trying to shrug it off. Anything. It was just an embarrassment to me. I knew it was important because we got kicked out of bed every Sunday, and my parents. We're involved in church, but to me, I just kind of thought, when I had a family and a station wagon and stuff, I'd figure out the significance. It didn't mean much. And my mom, who's a holy woman, she would encourage me, always ask me to go on retreats, and I'd always try and dodge the question and stuff. And then one time, I went right before I was going into high school, and I was able to bring a friend. That was the whole reason I went, and and thought that if the retreat was lame, that I could flirt with some girls or something. That was always my backup plan, and thought it would be a profitable venture. And so I went, and just really kind of got sucker punched by God, if you will, and just had this really amazing encounter at the retreat. I kind of started off by making fun of it, and but in the midst of it, all of a sudden it went from the concept of God's love went from just this little, button that my grandma wanted me to wear that, Jesus loves you, to that's real. It's not just something that makes a nice bracelet or something. And and that for me, like, was the beginning of everything. You know?
Yeah.
You know, as I went through high school, I think probably one of the most difficult things, a roadblock for me in my life, was just my family kind of fell apart. You know, like at the seams of my parents' marriage. Just something that looked kind of good and normal from the outside, just really crumbled, and that for me was hard. You know, like especially in the sense of just kind of, you know, this God that I had recently encountered, you know, just wondering, like, you know, where is this God, and
why is he letting this happen?
right, and I have this, you know, like,
If he loves me, why this pain?
yeah, and it just seemed like, you know, he was over there and I was over here, and I have this, you know, this memory that, like, really I feel like kind of like encapsulates what, you know, that time of my life is just being, you know, like I remember every Sunday, you know, my mom waking us up, you know, and everyone in my house is fighting, you know, before church. My parents are fighting, you know, I'm punching my brothers, and you know, we're all piling to the van, you know, the whole way to church. I hate you, you know, screaming.
See how they love one
all
another.
This stuff, right? And then we pull into the church parking lot week after week. You know, my mom would put the car in park and say, like, "Can we just act like we love each other for 1 hour?"
Yeah.
And we'd get out, you know, she'd be slicking our hair down, you know, tucking in the shirt, and we'd walk into church, you know, and people would say, you know, "How you doing, Mary Lou?" And she'd be like, "Oh, bless," you know, and it was just kind of this thing we did, and you know, you sit through mass, you know, grab the free donut, run back out to the car, where it's like we all hate each other again, and in my mind, the thing it started making me feel like was, you know, God wants us to show up, you know, sing the lyrics, you know, have our khakis on and our hair combed, and you know, look down and kind of smile on Sunday, but then, like, you know, like, where are you in the rest of my life? And that was really, it wasn't really until, you know, when I was going into college, I'd stumbled on, you know, this reading of Jesus with the lepers, you know, where he touches this leper, you know, he crouches down to the leper, says he embraces the leper, and something really significant happened in my heart at that moment, because I realized, you know, like the incarnation kind of, it became real to me again, you know, kind of in the same sense that God's love did earlier on that retreat when I was younger, but just the fact that it was like, you know, God cares enough that he doesn't want to just be the author, you know, of our stories, which is kind of what I always thought. It's like, if you're the author, like, why'd you write me such a crummy story, you know, like, but he, you know, he wants to be the hero, the main character, you know, wants to touch me, even in the midst of my messiness, the things I don't want to show, or you know, and so that for me, I feel like was when things got a little bit more. I was able to trust God fully.
Then you went to Franciscan University of
Went to
Steubenville.
Franciscan, yeah. I studied theology there, and you know, really, I think it was there that I knew I wanted to do ministry. You know, there was a guy who was at the first retreat, which is, I mean, this is just what a great story of discipleship. But a speaker at that retreat spoke to me on that weekend, and throughout all my high school years, you know, really mentored me, stayed with me, like prayed for me, you know, like. And that was such you know, a significant experience in my life that I knew that I wanted to be a man like that, you know, where I can give, you know. So.
Now, as I understand it, there's really two facets of your ministry. One's called Dirty Vagabond Ministry, which is really reaching out to inner city kids in Steubenville and New York, and then the other aspect is your stage name, Righteous Bee, where you're trying to reach youth with youth evangelization, with singing and rap and that type of thing. And like, there's two ways that you're doing it. You're doing real hands-on, and then you're also doing direct evangelization. It just seems, both seem tremendously important and really inspiring. And you know, your tattoos, you know, sometimes people say, "Oh, that guy's got tattoos." Well, tell them about your tattoos. No, really, real quickly. I mean, tell them what's there. I mean, I was inspired. I don't want to get a tattoo myself, but, you know, but I mean, I'm edified.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, even for me, the tattoos, you know, which is probably there's probably a lot of people who would really disagree with, you know, that method of catechesis. But you know, it's kind of like a little stained glass window. You know, for me, you know, like, it's got a lot of. You know, there's a piece in here about Peter's conversion, and you know, this part here, this where Jesus says you're worth more than many sparrows. You know, that to me, just, you know, me and my family, we consider ourselves missionary. It reminds us that God's providence. You know, and so yeah, those are.
Then
you know,
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah, Our Lady's hiding right there.
Yeah. So yeah, well, you know, I'm edified about how you're becoming all things to all people, so that some can be saved. That you're really trying to reach out to people who a lot of people aren't trying to reach. And let's take a little look at the video you prepared that will give us a little insight into what Dirty Vagabond Ministries is all about. And I know at the end of the program you're willing to sing a song as Righteous Be. So let's take a look at the video right now.
Cool.
Yo, it's your brother, lost brother, the crosstown dweller. Ain't got the same blood from the womb of another. My skin's a different color, my situation bugging. I know we see things different, but I still need your loving. Wherever you're low, we both, yo.
Dirty Vagabond really exists for one reason, and that's to be Jesus to inner city kids. Our hope with Dirty Vagabond Ministries would be that their lives, however chaotic, and their stories, however hard that they are to hear, that we might be able to enter into their lives. Not just kind of minister to them from outside, but that we might enter in, and that their stories, that we might become a part of their story. We're really convinced that that's where change could happen.
When I was 7 years old, my dad was shot and murdered.
There's a lot of people around here that don't live like they're supposed to live. That's why we need people to come in here and talk to these people and let them know that you only got one shot at life.
Every day we go to the projects and hang out with the kids in there, and we've just been getting involved in their life.
If people sat down and listened, like how you sit down and listen right now, this is a good thing, you know what I'm saying? To get a voice from the inside instead of just going from the outside and judging. You know what I'm saying? You coming in, you know what I mean?
Definitely, because it gives me somebody to talk to. And like, I could just talk to you guys about anything, pretty much.
I'm thankful for the Dirty Vagabond Ministries for the simple fact that it's changed my life. And as they see me now, they'll know something's different.
If you ever know love, then you know that we can weather the storm.
They take care of us, like if we need anything, we can knock on their door, they'll give it to us, like if we need a ride or something. We used to go up here, we got stuff to do up here.
They're good people and they have helped us out through good times and bad times.
And so Vagabond Ministry is an extension, I believe, of all of our parishes in Steubenville, with a particular outreach that says, welcome, you're wanted, we're Catholic, we have a message, and we want to share it with you. I can't think of a better thing to have.
My job is to show them love, if anything else. If I fail at any other task in this ministry, I hope to succeed in just showing love.
My greatest prayer is that the church would really awaken to this need, that people, that normal people in the church, that families, that people would be a part of this movement, that people would fuel that, but also be fueled themselves by the hope that this is creating in the church.
Broken umbrellas, we can weather the pain. So if your life a root, yes, suddenly for sure. Yeah, I got the cure. And if your life ain't never been ugly like mine before, you ain't from where I'm from. And if you never know love, then you know that we can.
Well, Bob, I'm impressed and I'm grateful. You know, I'm really, really glad that you're making yourself available to be an instrument of Christ to touch the hearts of people who have been wounded and rejected and abandoned in different kinds of ways, and just really grateful. Thank you.
That image of Jesus reaching out to the leper, God with skin on, it's alive in your heart. You can see it. It's happening right there in the video. It's what your ministry is all about.
Yeah, that's definitely, you know, for us, I feel like that image, the image of the incarnation, that's what we keep going back to, is, you know, like unless, you know, that concept for them, unless it's someone modeling that, they'll never see it. And you know, their issue is less that someone is, you know, it's not that they've never had anyone do anything nice for them. You know, there's a lot of inner city kids have programs, people come in for spring break, you know, give them a balloon, give them paint their face, fix their fence or something, you know, but then they're gone. And I think the real wound for them, and the real thing that allows God to become real, is the consistency. You know, that they can begin to trust someone when there's a consistency, that it's, you know, Christ among the people, that it's missionaries, that's us among them, being a part of them. That's where the trust happens.
I was struck too that you're trying to help them in different kinds of ways, but so many of them seem to have had a renewal in faith, or have come to belief in a real God that really loves them. And in a private conversation we were having previously, you said a lot of these kids are not baptized.
Yeah, about 90% of all the kids we work with, we have hundreds of kids that are regular part of what we do. About 90% of them aren't even baptized.
It really shows how things have changed in our culture, hasn't it? Really, there's a lot of people growing up
unbaptized. Yeah, and it really makes that evangelization wild. I feel like we meditate a lot of times on Acts of the Apostles, just kind of thinking like, this is it's really different from even doing youth ministry in a parish where you put something in the bulletin, hope a parent encourages them to come, or you get some pizza and hopefully some kids come. It's these kids aren't going to come unless we go, and then once they're there, some of the most basic things are earth-shattering to them. Just the invitational love of God. Just the fact that their brokenness could be mended. Just things like that.
And you said a lot of them, or a number of them, are actually entering the RCIA program and preparing to enter the church.
Yeah, it's really wild. We have over 20 kids that are in our RCIA at some level of the game. And we try and make sure that happens in a slow rate. It's even slower than what the normal process is, because there's so much for them to kind of wrap their heads around, their hearts around and stuff. But that's through their own request. We're definitely not a conveyor belt. We just get kids in our program and try and get them to become Catholic as soon as they can. That's their own desire. Like we have an old school bus we bought, and we drive that around, pick kids up for Mass, for adoration. We do adoration. When we do that on Wednesdays, there's a waiting list every week. The bus is full, and none of these kids are even Catholic. There's not one there's not one kid in all the hundreds of kids we have that is actually Catholics, and so like they're that hunger for the sacraments.
Busing them to adoration.
Yeah, we take them.
And they're filling the bus. Now, what do they experience there? Just observing it over the years, and
they love it. It's wild to hear just how authentic their encounter is without them knowing any of the language or how to describe
the theology background.
There was this kid. It was a really powerful story. This kid, we were in adoration, his first time there, again not baptized or anything. But the kid had a really traumatic, horrible life. But we were talking about it afterwards. There's a big group. What did we experience? How was God moving tonight? And he said, when that man came in, he was referring to a priest, but didn't know he was a priest. And he said he was carrying around that thing, the Eucharist, and he said, and I felt God say to me in my heart, like you were going to do what that man does one day, and it was so beautiful, because it wasn't anything, wasn't a vocational call. He didn't even know the word priest, but this kid in the last 2 years has really been searching out that vocation now, which is just so beautiful that even in these kids that don't know any of it, they don't know the half of like kind of where but that God, even among them, God's calling, bringing up vocations. And
does it ever feel hopeless? I mean,
yeah, there's definitely times where I feel like in our prayer, like me and my wife or our missionaries, like we just have to kind of say to Jesus, like, I don't know all the answers. I don't know what to do here. There's some of these situations are so messy that there's no textbook answer to give them, and sometimes they just have to say, I can't be the one to die on the cross. Like you got to do that for him, Jesus. And all I'm gonna do is keep trying to be you, and then you come up with an answer, because there's just no. There's no way that on our own, efforts that we can do that.
Now, another whole part of your ministry is you perform as righteous be, and you go all over the country. You do the Franciscan youth conferences sometimes. You've been to the Archdiocese of Detroit. You've done other things, and you're just trying to reach youth wherever they are. The hands-on inner city youth that you're there in Steubenville and other places, but then you're reaching youth wherever you can. Tell us a little bit about the Righteous Bee.
Well, I think, I think to some people this is surprising, but I think if you have any kind of pulse on pop culture, it's no shocker. Like hip hop is probably the most prevalent thing in pop culture, and it's not just music, and it's not just urban kids, like suburban kids far removed from the inner city streets of America, are now they reflect a lot of that hip hop culture, because it's the dress, even if you look at a lot of the biggest blockbuster movie stars, they're rappers, so all this kind of stuff. So for us, there's a quote that always motivated my ministry with the hip hop from John Paul II that I really love. He said, if the church holds back from culture, then the gospel will fall silent. And a lot of times I'll share that with someone because it is a little outside the box, and it is, I think, a little hard to kind of mix it. Like how can you reconcile Catholicism and hip hop? But the reality is if we're not speaking Christ into their culture, then there's a whole group of young people that the gospel will fall silent.
Yeah.
Bob and Peter, time has gone so quick. We want to reserve time at the end of the program for Righteous Be to sing one of his songs that
great.
really brings a lot of the themes that he's talked about here, a lot of the pain, a lot of the way Jesus comes to heal pain through his love and the love of others. And so we're going to hear from you in just a minute about the booklet that we have available. We have a free booklet that we're going to offer, and Peter's going to tell you about that in just a moment. And then I want to also let you know about Righteous Be's CDs that are available on his website, www.Vagabond Ministries.
Dirty Vagabond.
DirtyVagabond.com or RighteousBe.com, and we'll put that information up on the screen. But I also want to say that this is a ministry well worth supporting. I mean, I would like to encourage you to consider supporting what Bob is doing and reaching out to the youth like he is. And contributions, tax-deductible contributions can be made to Dirty Vagabond Ministries, and information's on your website, or they can call you. And thanks so much for being with us today. And Peter and I are really going to be ready after the little message from Peter about the booklet to listen to your closing song, because I know it's a great one. Peter, thanks for being with us today. And let's hear what you have to say about this booklet. It's a great little book called Is Real Change Possible? And it's something that can really help make a change in your life, like Bob's been talking about here today.
All around us, people are talking about change, economic, social, political, and even climate change. But ask yourself, is real, lasting change even possible? The change we need and desire the most is a transformation of heart. But the truth is, few of us believe this change is possible because we're so often dominated by anger, fear, and even hopelessness. Jesus promises us real change. My new booklet, Is Real Change Possible?, provides practical wisdom to help you tap into Jesus' life-transforming power. To receive this booklet free of charge, please call us at 1-800-282-4789, visit us online at renewalministries.net, or write to the address on your screen.
As I examine every wound from my feet to my ears, I realize I lost a lot of blood in 31 years. Childhood memories that I still hold dear, of days overlaced with grace in the South Hemisphere. But if I look a little closer past the warmth and the cheer, I find sometimes in my life I spent choking on tears. And it's strange because now I can't think when the last time was here that I genuinely wept. Has my heart disappeared? Or maybe somewhere between the pride and the fear, I thought my scars could be covered, but my heart never healed. So now I tend to smother anything inside me that feels, 'cause it's much easier to fake it than it is to be real. But to get rid of the pit of this pain, I must peel, and these masks of mine are cracking, they no longer conceal. I feel like I'm Achilles, you're exposing my heel. My first reaction is to find the bleed and cutting the seal. But there's another part of me that wants you to reveal all these wounds on my body, 'cause I want you to heal me. Hear me, Lord. I know I need healing, but I've been running from these ghosts and I'm weary to let you or anyone near me. Most of my sins are side effects that the fear brings. Aside from the fact that you shine like my earrings, I'm lost in the dark, left cracked by these feelings. And where would I be without you? Without you? Where would I be without you? See, I was 18 years old, my pops did what he did. Packed his bags, called it quits, left my mom with 4 kids. And now I left for college, there was no one around. My poor mama thinks she had herself a nervous breakdown. It wasn't the lack of love, but the lack of tears. Cause while my mama locked herself up in a room for a year, told my brother not to cry, don't let the hurt out. See, you responsible for mama, you the man of the house. So suck it up, bite your lip, and I'll do the same. If you cover up your wounds, ain't gotta deal with the pain. As for Mali, he'll see the hate from his seed. He wounds us, we wound him, then watch the man bleed. But my greed keep on growing from a bud to a weed. Tried to prune it, be prudent, but the root too deep. Water calm on the surface, cause the curse run deep. Bloody brow from my efforts, try to sow what I reap. Where would I be without you? Without you, Lord. Where would I be without you? Now as the years roll by, I'll rebuke the pain. Too many tears uncried, tried to juke the pain. The hate stayed intact as my game remained. Every problem in my life, I got my father to blame. See, I was able to run from all the wounds in my life, till I opened up my heart, took a girl for my wife. And now my fear has a face, cause when I look at my bride, all I can see is the issues that you wish you could hide. And with the birth of my daughter came the death of my pride. Even Jesus felt abandoned by his daddy at times. I can't use my papa to excuse my lies. It's time to own up to my fear, look the man in the eye. I ain't sure I can't forgive him, but it's time that I try. Cause every day I wake up, it's like I'm living to die. I wanna walk with Jesus as he walked with my pops. They might be heading to the cross, but I'm willing to walk. Where would I be without you? Without you, Lord. Where would I be without you?